Discover PowerShell. We're going to get started with discussing the setup for PowerShell version 3 and what's included. To begin, you'll need to download the Windows Management Framework version 3 and either .NET version 4 or .NET version 4.5. 4.5 is an in-place upgrade. For anyone that's familiar with the Microsoft .NET frameworks, is similar to version 2, where they had a version 3.0 and 3.5, which were simply extensions to version 2. So with version 4.5, there's enhanced features. PowerShell version 3 will support 4 or later, so you're welcome to choose whichever you like. And we'll go check out the website real quick. Windows Management Framework, there are several versions. For Windows 7 64-bit, we've downloaded this link here, and we went ahead and downloaded the version 4.5 setup, which this particular download is for it's a web installer, so it's a very small download, and then it will download whatever components are necessary. Today we'll cover the PowerShell EXE, and we'll use the 64-bit version, PowerShell ISE and the 64-bit version, and briefly discuss WinRM. So to get started, we'll go to the Start menu, All Programs, Accessories, and Windows PowerShell. And as I mentioned previously, there are 4 versions on a 64-bit operating system. If you were running a 32-bit version of Windows 7, for example, you would not see the x86. Now, for basically everything that we are going to demo, we're going to use the 64-bit version. The only time you need the 32-bit version is if perhaps you were using some kind of module from a vendor that required the 32-bit version. Then at that point you could pick that version. But today we're just going to work with the 64-bit version of the console and the ISE. So this is the console for PowerShell, and as you can see, it says 2012. So this will indicate right off from me that it was version 3. You can also run a command called ps version table, and this tells you that the version is 3.0. And it looks like it's using the .NET Framework version 4. And let's go ahead and customize the console while we're at it. So what you're going to want to do is, over at the top left corner, do a left click and go to Properties. And what I want to do is to make this window, the console window, fill my screen. So I'm going to go to Layout, and as you can see, it gives you a preview of how it's going to be displayed. And I would also like it to start at the top left corner of the screen. So if I adjust the height, I want it to be within the screen. I'll try 54. And for the width, okay, and let's try that real quick. Okay, so it looks like it's outside the screen. Now, you want to make sure that it fits within the screen because you don't want to have scroll bars at the bottom. So let's make another adjustment. Okay, and see, we have the scroll bar, and you're going to want to avoid having that because there will be certain instances where the output on the screen will go outside the screen, and you have to use the scroll bar, and it's just not very good. Okay, so now we're within the screen. Okay, now you still see that there's a scroll bar. So what you want to do is the screen buffer size width should be the same width as the window size. and I like to adjust the height to 5,000. This just means that there's going to be more area on the screen where you can scroll all the way up and down to see what was print out. If it was a very low height on the buffer, then a lot of your commands will get cut off. And another thing we want to do is make sure that the font is easy to read. So one way to check that is we're going to do a single quote, a backtick, a double quote, open parens, square bracket, and curly bracket. Now if you look at it and it's a little bit difficult to differentiate between the characters, then you're going to make an adjustment. So we'll go back to properties and font, and I like to use Consolus, and let's go with 16. Okay, and that looks easier to read, but as you can see it messed up our window size, so we'll quickly make an adjustment for that. Almost have it. Okay, so this will be good for now. I'll make adjustments between now and the next video. So as you can see, the characters are fairly easy to read, and this will be important when running commands later on because each one has a purpose. And let's go ahead and open up the ISE, which is the Integrated Scripting Environment. So we'll go to Start, Accessories, Windows PowerShell. So we're going to pick this guy here. Okay, go ahead and full screen that. Now once again, this is the ISE, the Integrated Scripting Environment. For developers, they would be familiar with Visual Studio. This is a lot better than trying to use Notepad or just a plain text editor. So as you can see, you get the benefit of the console, such as we saw previously. And over here on the right, this is a commands window. It allows you to look up commands that are available and to sort through specific modules that are installed on the PC or server. We've got this drop down, or this arrow, which will show the scripting screen. We won't use any scripting right now, but later on you'll see how easy it is to take something that was in the console and just throw it in this scripting area and then reuse it for future scripts. And we can hide this by either clicking the X or just hitting this little option right here. And this button will it'll pop it out. I'd really only use that if I had a big screen. In this case, we're not going to use it now, and so I'll go ahead and get rid of that. And this will show the scripting area, different views. And we'll go ahead and hide that. And some other options. This one's pretty useful because it'll clear the console. And one really important thing to notice is that at the top in the title bar it says Administrator. And the console window also showed Administrator. If it does not say that, then you're going to want to go ahead and relaunch it with Administrator. So to do that, we could go to Start, and if you right click, you could do Run as Administrator, or as you see, I could have clicked it here. And if it was down at the bottom, I could have right-clicked and done Run as Administrator. If you were on a client machine, Windows 7, then it's possible that you're not an administrator. If you're on a server, it's typically not the scenario. So I am on a server, so moving forward, then I won't be concerned with that. Alright, and so let's go ahead and type some commands in the ISE. So as you can see, I've typed get dash, and then this window appeared. This is, you could say it's called IntelliSense, but it's a preview of commands that match whatever I've typed. So if I continue to type, it will filter out the lists. And then to pick what's there, just hit tab. And then once I hit the dash or the hyphen key, it showed another menu. So I'll go ahead and choose name. I just hit enter. And now it gives me a preview of running services. So if I start typing, then it will let me pick one. And notice the color differences. This is something that you get within the ISE. You do not get it in the console. Get service is white, and WinRM, which is an argument, is in a different color. And so you'll see as we're running these commands, notice the colors, and it'll give you an indication of maybe you typed something wrong or you've done something right. So I'll hit enter, and there it goes. It gives me the results. If I were to run get service and it would be incorrect, for example, if I did this, see I can't tab, it doesn't work. And you see it at the bottom left corner, it's trying to complete it and it doesn't know what to do. It's very important to know that any commands that are being run that are PowerShell commands, it's in a verb noun syntax, so it's going to be verb dash noun tab. And we can also put this in double quotes. The color is a little bit different, but it would still work the same. And we'll jump back into the console, and we'll try the same command. As you can see, there's no IntelliSense or preview appearing, but it does allow the tab completion. One useful thing is when you're in the console, this will also work in the ISE, is type a part of it and then you can keep hitting tab. So if I were to do just the S, there's several commands that match that pattern. So you could just tab through, and then if you pass it, you can do shift tab and it'll go back to it. So it'll go in reverse order. And then since we're in the console, we can just do CLS to clear the screen. And so as we've seen, it's pretty simple to get right into the console or into the ISE. And in the next video we'll go more in depth on how to use each one of these and really learn how to use PowerShell. And we'll go ahead and conclude the demo of the ISE and the console, and later on in subsequent videos we'll go more in depth about the different features in PowerShell version 3. We do need to address the concerns of compatibility between version 2 and version 3. And as a reminder, PowerShell version 3 is not supported on Windows XP and Windows Server 2003. So don't try to install it, it won't work. With Windows 7 and Server 2008 R2, PowerShell version 2 is installed by default. So when you install version 3 of PowerShell, it is a side-by-side installation. You can run both versions what you would end up doing to run version 2 is you would run PowerShell, provide the version parameter, and version 2. And as you can see, the copyright is 2009. If we press the Windows key and the R button, here we can type PowerShell version 2, just the same command, and it will launch it as version 2. All the version 2 scripts will work in version 3. What you may encounter later on is if you're writing version 3 scripts and you're trying to run it on a machine that has version 2 only. For the most part, you should be upgrading everybody to version 3. It's an easy installation. It's just a Windows update, or you push out the hotfix and just get everybody on the new version. There's a lot of features. It's certainly worth the upgrade. And that will conclude the demo, and we'll continue on the next video with some other wonderful features of PowerShell version 3.